Yeah, I can. All right, I would like to introduce Abby Darnley to everybody. Abby is the Director of Event Operations at Rock Solid Productions with a focus on growing the sport of curling. Abby, who has a Bachelor of Science degree in sport management, is an athlete, a coach, a sports administrator, and in her spare time runs the Little Rock program at Stroud Curling Club. So thank you very much, Abby. I think everybody is familiar with the Rocks and Rings program through the Egg Farmers of Canada. And Abby, that's what Rock Solid Productions does is provide the Little Rock or the Little Rocks programs and the Rocks and Rings, and then Rocks and Rings actually provides the gear to different community organizations. So Abby, thank you and welcome everybody. This is the first webinar of this season. There are many more that we've got scheduled so far. We've got them scheduled right into November. And we are also planning another coaches gathering in around Curling Day in Canada. So just pencil that in on your calendars. So Abby, thank you.
All right,
Take
thanks.
it away.
Yeah, okay, so I'm gonna share my screen here and kind of get going. Here we go. All right, so as Andrea said, I oversee the Stroud Curling Club. I'd like to start though by saying that I'm a big advocate in all sports, youth sports. I have 3 kids, and I'm a firm believer that kids should play multiple sports. I think it helps them as an adult, and I think it's great, and I think it kind of keeps them out of trouble as well. Yeah, I today my daughter ran her first cross country race in a few years, and even though it was just with her school and they had to do each class individually, it was just very fun to see as I happened to be walking by at the same time her class happened to be out there. It was a very good coincidence and fun to see. So I just like to think that I think all sports is great, and I think I like to apply. I coach soccer and I also help run cross country when it's not COVID, and I think that we try to apply the concepts of what we do in our youth program here to everything they do. So, all right. So the main thing we build on is fun. When I took over the youth program, it's been a few years now. Last year we were going to run, and then when the COVID numbers got out of control, our youth program actually didn't run. But I remember when I kind of walked into the club with my 6-year-old at the time, and the organizers' eyes sort of lit up as like, there's the next victim. They're going to run this program in a few years, I can tell. So I did. I took over when he moved up to juniors, and it's been fun. I mean, he ran a terrific program, and all we've done is try to expand and build on it. And the one aspect that I feel like we've really worked on is making sure it's fun. That has been the complete control. Yes, we do skills. Yes, we want to build good curlers, but we're really making sure that it's fun out there and listening to what our kids say. So what we do, music. I couldn't wait to get loud music on the ice. It was like the first thing we did. We have this huge speaker that we bring out. I have one coach who's in charge of bringing the speaker every week, and I'll talk to the kids about what songs they like, and sometimes I'm like, no, that's a terrible song, we're not using that song. And sometimes I'm like, yeah, I love it, and we'll play that, and we add it in there to make it fun for them. But it's loud music, and we have it blasting, and it kind of keeps them moving. And when they're not, you can see the kids dancing around on the ice. So if you haven't added music to your schedule or your activities, I strongly recommend you give it a try, even if it's just for a few fun days. So the other thing we've done is our coaching team. I can remember being on the ice coaching some of the kids before I ran the program, and I used to play fairly competitively back before I had kids, and a bunch of the people I used to play against are sitting now behind the glass, and I'm thinking, these are past world tour players who should be on this ice teaching these kids, not sitting at the stands. So I, politely approach them going, oh, what week would you like to come out and help? And sort of kind of, move them onto the ice. And then I have also parents who maybe know nothing about the sport, but are very keen, are there every week, are super excited. We have kind of said, hey, can you help out on the ice? They're like, oh, I don't know anything about curling. And I've kind of said, that's okay, you don't need to, and found a role for them. So, you know, our program starts as young as 6 years old, and I have up to 12-year-olds. We used to do up to 10, and when they were 11, they'd move up. We've started to keep them down because we found there was just such a huge gap for that juniors. For 11 to high school kids, there was just a missing piece. Maybe it was an emotional connection there where high school kids are a very different age level, but we've kept them down for now. So I've started to get parents who really know nothing about curling, and we've sort of started to teach them how to coach, because I can use a parent, literally all you have to do is keep my 6-year-olds kind of in a line and get the next one in the hack. That'll keep the things moving. You don't have to know anything about the skill bases. You're just useful on the ice. So that is one of the things I can strongly recommend. If you have a parent who shows up early every week, who's there, you would be shocked how you can get them out there. And I can also say we use their strengths. So one of my coaches, I always call him my technical director. He's a past World Curling member. He's very good. He's very much into curling. And so I'm like, you're the expert. So I always go, this is Dale. He's our technical. And I always call myself the fun director. I'm like, I'm the fun. This is our technical. So we like to mix it up and really provide, you know, everybody's strength. I have another guy who's all business. So he sends out a weekly email. So every Monday he sends out an email to all of our coaches who can come the next week, so that we kind of know how many coaches that we're going to have. So I've started to sort of use my coach's strength and pull people in to really beef up our program so that we have kind of experts in every field per se. The other thing we do is theme days. I love a good theme day. When the kids come home to tell me that it's theme day at school, I'm like, yes, blue day. We are going to be blue top to bottom, like whatever it is. So I am the same way when it comes to an event day. So we did an Olympic day one year where I divided them up into just 4 teams. So I have about 60 kids in a non-COVID year at a time that can be in our program. And I say can be in our program. I would take more to be. That's how many people registered. I would never turn anyone away. I'd find a way to make it work with more kids. So that works because I have a huge coaching team, so I can do that. But theme days, I divide them up into 4 teams, and we did 4 different stations, all skill development, and we just they would score points. And I had every age, so 6-year-olds to 12-year-olds, kind of split them up so it was an equal team, and they would earn. And then I had medals, gold, silver, bronze, and then we did 4 teams. If any of your kids have ever been to OFSA, there's a teal medal given out at OFSA for curling. I don't think they give it out in any other sport, but in curling they gave it the teal medal. So we created a teal medal so that everybody got to go home with one. We had them piped in for the medal ceremony. We just like to do fun things. So I would strongly recommend, if you've got a theme day, like bring it all the way. Like it's so fun for the kids. It's just something different. They look forward to it. They work together. It's great. And the other thing that's really big is a bring a friend bonspiel. So this one is really big for a couple reasons. One, it helps obviously grow your section, right? Because kids are bringing in other kids. So we have all the kids bring a friend that doesn't know anything about curling. And again, we'll start from 6 all the way up to 12. We have the ability, we were able to create a half sheet as well. So our 6-year-olds only play half sheet. So 6 and 7, and depending on their skill level, they'll play half sheet. But we have a bonspiel, and it's just like a bonspiel note. Now we only have them play 2 or 3 ends. Then they come into the clubhouse, do some fun games with the other draws out there, and then we switch them. And the kids get it, right? They get lunch in between there. They're getting a prize. They all get to pick a prize off the prize table, just like if they were to play an adult bonspiel. And the kids walk away going, you have to be kidding me. And I'll be honest, as a parent whose kids play lots of sports, we also walk away. So you're telling me it's going to cost me $40 and my kid's going to get lunch, a prize, and stay here all day and curl. I would be like, we'll be here every Saturday. What time should I drop them off? So So I think I paid $40 and my kid got to dance on stage for 2 minutes. And I was like, okay, here's my money. So usually the bring a friend bonspiels go pretty well for the kids, and they don't mind hesitate bringing in some kids. And you can do it. We've done it cheaper too. One year we did it for $20 because we had parent volunteers do a pasta lunch, and we had prizes donated. So I mean, spending the budget, you can really make that super budget friendly if you're on a budget. But I cannot stress fun. And I think the things to learn here is that think outside the box. So if you've ever had rocks and rings, if you think about it, what makes rocks and rings successful in the schools, and I like to apply that a lot to curling, is that we're teaching them about the sport in a way that maybe is not really skill based first. So we get them interested in stuff, and then we bring on the other stuff. So you really want to kind of get their attention with some fun games and activities, and then kind of bring in the skill base and that sort of stuff. So talking about that, I'm going to build into what we do with our program. The length of time, we are normally an hour and a half program, and I'll be honest, for me, that's about 15 minutes too long based on my reactions from my kids. Now, I do have kids who could spend all day on the ice, but the average kid is usually pretty good at the hour and 15 minute, and that's when they're kind of like, is it time to go yet? What time is it? And that sort of stuff. So I say curling doesn't have to be 2 hours. That's what a league game is for adults, but for kids, pick what works for you. This year, we are actually starting a second day, and it's only going to be 45 minutes, our second day. That's just the time slot we had, and I was like, we'll take it. It'll work. We'll make it work. So it doesn't have to be 2 hours. We used to run a program, or we run a program. We still run it all the time, but COVID has stopped that a bit. It's called Curling 101. And when we first started piloting it, when we first started testing it, we would take kids who've had rocks and rings and we put them on the ice. And the first probably 6 sessions I ran, excuse me, it was a 2-hour on ice lesson. And that was it. And people left, and we got some people return, but not much. So then we switched it to an hour and a half lesson. And again, we still got some people, and it was fine, but it wasn't. When we switched it to the 1 hour lesson, we returned an average of 20% of people then turned around and signed up for leagues. And what was the difference in that 1 hour time slot is that 1 hour was probably not enough time that they've piqued their interest, but it was enough time to say, I definitely want to do this again. So they were kind of on the ice, they were having a really good time, and then we said, okay, time's up, come on off. And they were like, oh, I'm not done yet though. So they want to come back. And I think that is what I try and keep in mind every time I'm on the ice with the kids is I want them off the ice when they're having the most amount of fun, so they can't wait to come back the next week. And if there's a point in your lesson that it starts to get, that's when you're going to go, okay, how do I switch it up? And so, and one thing I've done now with our coaches, stations, I don't know, this idea came from me watching my kids in skating lessons. Skate Canada a few years ago changed their program. And I didn't know that. After I did some research, I found out. And what they do is they actually have the kids rotate between stations. So instead of your kid coming up and their coach is, Sally, your kid comes up to station 1, and then they play a song. I think our song, they always played Hit the Road Jack. And when Hit the Road Jack came up, all the kids knew it was time to switch to the next station. And so it would come on and the kids would move to the next station. And so the coach running that station only had to run that station. So maybe they were not the best skill developer. That wasn't their expertise in whatever it was, delivery. I didn't need them to be, because I would say, no, you're going to run the sweeping station, or you're going to run this station. And it allowed us to get more coaches on the ice. When the coaches came out, and I would just say, we usually run 5 stations, sometimes 6. I would say, here's the stations, what station do you want to run? And they'd all pick their station and off they go. They're happier because they don't have to do any programming. It was all kind of done for them. And they just do the same thing over and over again. And so every 10 minutes, our kids rotate to the next station. They start their program again. And it's, although repetitive, it's easy. And from a coaching standpoint, a volunteer standpoint, easy's good. Easy, I'm in for easy. So the other thing we like about it is that all of the participants leave having the same experience. So they've all got to, if I learned this from coaching in Saskatoon one time. I was on the ice and Amber Holland was helping. And of course, everybody wanted to be with Amber Holland. Who doesn't want to be with, your national champion over there? And so we had to keep moving her between the different sheets so everyone got to do it. So then I was like thinking, okay, you know what we need to really do is move all the participants between all the coaches so they all get to experience all the coaches and the strengths that those coaches bring. So that's how I brought that to my game, is that everyone then gets to have, if one coach is super silly and crazy, they get to have that coach for their 10 minutes, but they also get to have the serious technical coach for 10 minutes, and they get to move down the line and they all leave having the same experience. Use your resources. My dad taught me this in high school, that don't reinvent the wheel. When I'm working hard on projects that people have already done multiple times, go to the library and find it. Stop trying to do it yourself. So I believe this is one of the things we do the most. There, like I said, Skate Canada, there's many successful programs out there. And just because they were geared towards a different sport doesn't make them perfect for our sport as well. So if there's fun games or activities, and to be honest, there's lots of times I try stuff in the school gym with the kids, teaching rocks and rings. And then I'm like, this is definitely going on my roster for on the ice. This is great. The kids love it. One of the things we do a lot is we turn the rocks into pizzas. So for instance, I'll literally stick on a little picture of a pepperoni and pineapple or whatever, and then we ask the kids, okay, what do you like on your pizza? So then I'm like, okay, now you guys have to try to create this pizza. You need 10 pepperonis on it because everybody likes pepperoni, or you need 2 pineapples and 8 pepperonis. So then they have to draw the rocks to the house, and it's a skill, and they're trying to practice their draw, but they're also trying to create this pizza. And so it's like, it's turning their skill into something fun and trying to do fun stuff. So, we did that a lot in the school gym, and I was like, why are we not doing this on this? This is great. So, and the other stuff we do, like, sounds silly, but we line up my kids' Beanie Boos. They go along the ice and the kids have a blast picking what Beanie Boo they want to target at. And the only difference is it's not a rock. So I could put a stone there and it'd be the exact same drill, but because I put a Beanie Boo there, they're like in the hack, they're going, okay, I'm gonna go for this one, and they start to get to know the names of the characters. And so you'd be surprised how just changing out an item really sort of targets some of the younger kids and keeps them sort of focused in the game and that sort of stuff. So yeah, I mean, there's tons of different, obviously, ideas, and I'm not going to sit up here and say mine are the best. There's certainly other wonderful junior youth programs out there too. And I think, like I said, use your resources, like tap into these, find out what other people are doing, and continue to expand. As I said earlier, one of my things is keen parents. Honestly, I have actually 6 new coaches joining me this year. And my guy who's in charge of my coaches goes, we might have more coaches than players soon. I think I have like almost 20 coaches on my roster of people who are interested in helping. And that's strictly because we're trying to encourage people of any ability to be part of our program. Because once the parents are invested in your program, the kids are invested. There's no question about it. So this year I've added a few parents and said, I need people who are in charge of our COVID protocols, taking the kids' temperatures or whatever before they walk in the door, whatever our protocols are going to be. And I've got 3 parents out of the gate. Yeah, count me in. That's going to be my role. And I was like, and then you can just come and help the small kids get on the ice and, do bathrooms, because our building, we will be having parents there. So we're going to be doing kind of everything. So anyway, so our roster is getting bigger and it's fun. So don't hesitate to ask keen parents, because you'd be shocked how many of them are actually dying to help. They just don't even know where to start. Complement other sports. I work with a ton of curling clubs in my job across Canada, and I cannot stress enough how I say, if you have an opportunity to run your program opposite of hockey, do it. If you have an opportunity, if dance is the big sport, run it opposite of dance. Kids are going to fall in love with the sport, and I don't think we should compete with them. I think we should complement them, and I say that for everything. This next one, I'm a firm believer in too. I don't know how to fix it. It's one of the reasons we're going to try a second day this year at our club, is that if swimming lessons was only offered once a week, would so many kids actually know how to swim? Now, we don't know that answer, because right now I could call my local swimming place and sign up for any day of the week I want for my kids to go swimming. But if you took that with any other sport, if we said you can join whatever day you works for you, how many more kids do we think would join curling? I don't know. I don't know the answer, but if there's an opportunity where you can offer a second day, or if the clubs in your area, if you all complement each other. So maybe we run Sundays, but our local one, the other one will run Thursdays, and someone else will run Tuesdays. So if they can't come to our club, they can go to one of the other clubs. And as a sport as a whole, we're now building more groups. So that's just one of my random thoughts. I have random thoughts. I'm sharing it. I don't have any proof that if we offered curling 5 days a week, we'd have more curlers, but I'm hoping that there would be proof it would go. I'm also a firm believer in don't give away the sport. And I sit up here and say that, even though my curling club gives away the sport. So it costs $80 to join the Stroud Curling Club, and it makes me sick. And it has taken me 3 years to raise it from $70 to $80. And I would like to raise it to even more. I feel like it cheapens what you're offering. I have a strong coaching team. I have some coaches that have taken kids to nationals. I have some national people who have been to nationals. I have a very strong coaching team who volunteer their time. And I feel like we cheapen our sport by giving it away for free. My kids, you name the sport, I've done it. It cost me more to enter my kids in a one-day triathlon than it does for a whole year of curling. Like, I really believe that you know, charge what the program's worth, and people will come for it. And again, I'm not saying, you know, we're not going to charge $300 out of the gate, but what I'm saying is, if you continue to give it away for free, there's no value in it, and people won't see that it's worth their time and money. And I really am a firm believer to not give that away.
Good point.
New additions. So I'm excited about this. So we start next Sunday's our first week back, and I'm excited. I've been pumping up our coaches, going, look at guys, I've had a whole year to develop a new program for us, so be ready. And one of the things we're doing, and I say be good humans. I have a very good friend, and she said to me a few weeks ago, every time her kids leave the house, she goes, now be good humans. And I was like, that's amazing. I love that you say that to your kids every day. You know, instead of saying be a good person or whatever, it's like, just be good humans or be kind. It's so that is kind of, I was like, that's going to be my slogan. We want to be good humans. So we're starting off our program this year with like a thought of the week, or kind of a lesson. And so one of my lessons I have already to go. I used my daughter's best friend. She got her whole class to run the cross country race, and she was so excited because she actually thought she was going to win, even though all the other kids won. And all the kids she got to participate ended up beating her in the race. So she was just broken because she convinced them all to run, and yet now she lost and they won. And I said, look, I sent her a little text message, and I said, look, you didn't lose. And there was a little meme that said, you know, clap for your friends until it's your turn. And I said, it'll be your turn one day. It wasn't today, but you're a good person because you gave them their opportunity, and you sat there and you clapped for them. So you need to continue to clap for them. And that's one of the things, you know, that's one of our things we want to say, is just can remind these kids that they're not going to win everything they do. And it's not even just about curling. It's just about life in general. We want them to walk away from our program feeling better about themselves and kind of being a better person. So we're kind of adding in this be good humans aspect to the start of ours as something that, you know, it's quirky. I'm not saying you have to do it. It's just something that, you know, I want to do. I want to, you know, try to make life more positive. We've had a long few months, and we're just trying to make things more positive. So we're doing that. This next thing we're adding, I'd love to say it was my idea. It wasn't. It's somebody else's idea. But I'm like, this is a genius. I love it. Is we're adding some icebreakers to our program. So we usually start off with, you know, fun music, and then we do some stretching. But now we're going to start off with an icebreaker, whether it's, you know, a noodle, like play pool noodles tags where they can't leave the thing, whether it's, you know, literally toss a Beanie Boo across to the person and call their name. And I'm gonna think back to all those conferences and everything you've ever been to where they make you do an icebreaker first, and in your head you go, oh my god, this is awful, I do not want to stand up in front of all these people I don't know and say something I didn't want to say. But the reason they make you do that is because you're trying to create an emotional connection with other people there to get you more comfortable in that environment, so that you open up a little bit more and you want to be there. If that's the goal of all icebreakers, it's like we're just trying to get everybody more comfortable. And what I want to do is make sure all of the kids that come every week are comfortable being there, and that they know someone, and that these become their friends. They're, oh my gosh, I can't wait to see Sarah. It's been all week. Tell her what happened at school, whatever the case. I want them to have a connection. And by having to do these challenges together, maybe not curling based, but just something fun and goofy, it gives them that emotional connection, that drive to be part of it and learn everybody's names, not stick to just the two people that they know. It really is going to focus them out. So we're trying to add this in even for 5 minutes before we start our skills, is just get them to do something outside of curling that's a little bit silly, a little bit goofy, moving them on. I have bonspils in there. I don't know if we're going to get to run bonspils this year. We're going to wait and see how that rolls. But as I said, with our Bring Your Friend bonspiel, they get to pick off the prize table. And I guess what that means is, you know, you all think back to your first bonspils, if when you did them, it's like that first toaster, right? You get so excited you brought home this prize and you're like, oh, I got this off the prize table. When's the next time? And obviously kids are driven the same way we are. So give them that, you know, give them their first toaster and make them want to, you know, compete in other bonspiels and go again. And I can tell you that the first year I ran at Stroud, we went to a couple bonspiels, and we would take 2 or 3 kids to these bonspiels, 2 or 3 teams. And then the next year, the year COVID hit, we went to 2 bonspiels, and I always had at least 4 teams registered. And usually whoever was running them would email and say, I need another team. And I was like, okay, give me an hour, I'll field you another team. Because all the other kids would talk. Oh, we went to this bonspiel, we did this, we did this. And so everybody wanted to be on a team. So it was a matter of, you know, making sure we could get them out there. They didn't, and I said, you're probably not going to win some of them. Like, just go out there and have fun and learn and expand. And it was, I can contest, bonspiels are sometimes what keep kids into the sport. As I said, this year, we're adjusting our program a little bit. We did find that as kids moved from our program up to the juniors, we had no middle ground. So we had a wonderful Little Rock program. We have a wonderful junior program. But that intermediate stage, we didn't have anything that really kept kids. So if their parents weren't keen curlers, or they didn't just eat, sleep, breathe curling, we found they tended to drop out shortly after Little Rocks. So what we've done in our program is adjusted our program to accommodate those kids and keep them with us maybe a little bit longer, so that they're not actually hitting the high school kids until they're in high school. So we've adjusted. So, you know, I can only say, for me, it's more, I want to keep the kids in the sport and I don't want to lose them. And if we are losing them, let's find out why. You just got to keep an eye. How do they transition, and why aren't they coming back? And how can we adjust that where we go? This one is huge for me, Family Curling League Night. Now, it hasn't started for us, but we're trying very hard, is that, you know, my oldest is 11, so we're at the age now where they can actually curl with me. And so I'm super excited. I'm like, this is great. We're gonna have a family team. It's gonna be so much fun. I mean, I think I might be the most excited about it in the whole family, but I'm like, this will be the greatest. And then I started talking to neighbors, and I'm like, we're just gonna have a family night. So if you have an opportunity, and again, it depends how busy your club's out, but if you have an opportunity where you can literally run, even if it's like once a month, a family night where the kids and the parents are all on the same team playing other families, I feel like it brings that connection of the parents into the club as well. And if they're not curlers, maybe they are going to join curling after this, because now their kids have kind of got them hooked. If they are curlers, like myself, I'm super pumped. They're at the age where they can now play with me, and I can hardly wait to get on the ice with them. So that is something we're going to try, is like Family Curling League nights. We've done a few kind of tests before COVID. We would just rent the ice and then invite families in, and we would pick families and play against. But we're really looking to do like kind of a league, not every time, once a month. And I say, once things get back to normal, the original plan was that they would play for, 4 ends maybe, and then we'd come off and have pizza, and it'd be like, some parents get some parent time and kids can have some kid time, and then it's like kick off and go. So if you have opportunities and you think you have enough families, I say try it, and don't go 8 ends. I love the sport of curling, but I do not want to play 8 ends with my beautiful children. Uh, the long 8 ends. So yeah. Okay, so that is me and what I do in our program in a nutshell. Who wants to?
That's awesome, Abby. Well, perhaps if you'll stop sharing your screen now, we can go to gallery view, everybody. If you go um, on my screen, it's on the top right-hand side. And if you'd like to see everybody, you can click on gallery view. I do have a couple of questions.
Oh, great.
Where'd she go? She turned her crease. Oh, there she is. Do many of the parents that you have involved in your program, do they kiss and drive? So drop their kids off and leave?
So normally, no, actually. Normally, our lounge is jammed with parents. We have very few that drop and leave.
Mm-hmm.
However, this year, they're not allowed to come in their lounge
Ah, okay.
because of COVID protocols. So this year, it will be uh, drop your kids off, and if they're not one of our registered coaches, like that's already pre-approved, they have to leave their kids and come back and get them. But normally, our parents would be in the lounge. Yeah.
Okay, good. And what is a Beanie Boo?
It's a stuffed animal.
Oh, just
It's
like a Beanie Baby?
yeah, like a beanie baby. Yes.
Yeah,
Yeah,
okay.
the kids call them Beanie Boos now. I don't know. They're like little stuffed animals, and they kind of sit a little bit better on the ice. So
Yeah, they
yeah.
wouldn't fall over. Do all of the volunteers that you use, they obviously have to all be fully vaccinated, correct?
Yeah. All of our volunteers have to be fully vaccinated to participate this year as part of our COVID protocols. So I'll be perfectly honest. I have been very strict with my family and what we can and cannot do over the COVID period. So I'm a little bit stricter with our Little Rock program compared to what the club is requiring. But I don't want it. I
No,
want to stay
well,
safe.
especially until the kids that are 12 and under are vaccinated.
And that's it. And all of our kids who are 12 or older also must be double vaccinated to participate.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. Have you had any problems? Well, you haven't yet because you probably haven't been on the ice yet.
We haven't been on the ice yet, but everybody knows in order to come in our building, we have to have proof of it. So we haven't had any issues yet. We've had a few parents just say they won't be joining curling this year because of the COVID policies. And we just said, great, hopefully you can next year.
Yeah.
And there's been no anything negative from it yet that I know of, but I don't really handle too much of the registration stuff. I'm more of the hey, time to do it and move on. So.
Okay. Are there any questions or some experiences that those on the line, you can unmute now if you'd like and relate them to Abby? I'm kind of thinking, Abby, that a lot of what you do with the Little Rocks could easily be applied to the junior program on maybe just that little bit more mature level, eh?
And what, we do that even with our station. So obviously what we're doing with the 6-year-olds is going to be vastly different from what we're doing with our 12-year-olds.
Mm-hmm.
So what we do is we just change the kind of the skill level a little bit. So, rocks are going to be closer or further away. A port they're going through is going to be smaller or skinnier. We use the Beanie Boos for the younger kids, but the older kids are fine hitting the stones because they're not. So we definitely advance our skills. And again, as older kids, you would be changing up the stations and the different stuff. So if you did stations for, even high school kids, same thing. You could set up the different stations, and you could even make it an individual thing where, you get a card, and if you hit 5 points on this station, you move to the next station. So they're trying to see, beat their score. Maybe last week they got 25 on the rotation. This week they're trying to get 30 or whatever the score was out of.
Right.
Gives them something to work towards, yet still doing the skills and that sort of stuff.
Okay, good. All right, the mics, open up your mics. Are there any questions or comments?
Hi, Abby. I have a question. I'm from Kingston, and I've been involved in badminton junior and adults. And one of the things we do with the Adult Learn to Curl program that they insist on is that we use stabilizers to take that balance issue out of the equation. So for the Bantam program, have you considered that, or have you just shortened and customized the brooms for them?
So we use stabilizers too.
Okay.
Yeah, we don't even give our little rocks a choice. And I'll be honest, I took a team to a bonspiel, and this was their third bonspiel, and they had never won a game. And they insisted on using brooms, absolutely insisted. And their dad came and said to me, please convince them to use the stabilizer. They just have no balance. And I was like, okay, I'll do my best. So I walked them over and I said, girls, listen, you have one game left. Just use the stabilizer. Just do it for me. Like, if it works, it works. Well, of course they won the game. They came beaming off the ice, and they've never touched the broom again. They use the stabilizer every time. And it's like, maybe it was just dumb luck, whatever, it worked, and they went back to it. I don't use the stabilizer. I maybe should now. I'm not as stable as I used to be, but I think there's a time and a place to use a broom. At the development age, I think the stabilizer is such a wonderful tool to ensure it helps them easier to get their shoulders square. It makes it easier for them to balance. Like, there's just so many benefits to it that I'm certain we don't even give them a choice until they get too cool to ask us to use a broom. We just put the stabilizer in their hand and move on.
Great.
Well, you're certainly preaching to the choir. We've done that with great success as well. So
Yeah,
thanks.
I love it.
Deanna, did you have a question or a comment?
Yes, just asking about the how involved are the parent volunteers? We're here in Kelowna. We have to have, our checks and our references and some certification. I'm just wondering, and our club isn't that big that we haven't involved parents as such, but we think this year we're going to have to. And we're just, what extent are we asking them to provide a reference? How close are they involved with the kids?
So,
Abby?
you know what? We don't have a ton of requirements because none of the parents, coaches will ever be left alone with kids.
Okay.
So we require that they are fun, and we require that they are open to having a good time with us, and really just taking direction. We have quite a few parents who, again, we're pretty lucky. We have quite a few parents who have a lot of skill and technical director that we literally just pull in the other parents to almost assist them, and they're happy with that spot, and they're happy to be part of the program. And so we don't have a ton of requirements that they need. Like, obviously I have my police clearance check through them and that sort of stuff. But the parents that I have come in right now, all they're required to do is show their proof of vaccination.
Okay.
Yeah.
Great. Thanks.
What
Abby.
about Rowan's Law and concussion training and safety? How do you handle that?
Yeah, so I again sign off on that, but we also have all the parents have to sign off on that as well.
Okay.
So and again, you do what you need to do. I will not teach a child on the ice without a helmet. If you are under the age of 12, you are to wear a helmet. I don't care if you could balance on your pinky toe on a slider. These are my rules. I'm the coach. Wear a helmet or don't come out. And I have a zero tolerance policy for that as well, because safety is obviously our number one. And there's times we don't put sliders on certain kids too. We you don't have to have a slider to curl sometimes, and there is a time and a place for a slider, and so we introduce that to the kids when it's necessary, right, or when they're able to ensure a lot more safety in that.
And obviously you're using step-on sliders or portable sliders, not anything that they need to sweep with.
Yeah, some of our kids will have their own shoes now because they've been around long enough, but if they're sweeping, they must sweep with a double gripper. Our kids are young enough that there's no need for this fancy slider, and you need to be perfectly honest, I don't even know how they do it sleeping with a slider. I can't even do it anymore. So I just, no, we sleep without a slider, and that's our rules.
Good.
And we're still fun. I like to think we're still fun.
Absolutely.
I have a couple questions.
Okay.
Do all your coaches or even your parents, do you require them to have a police check?
No. I have my security test, but none of the coaches are left alone with the parents with the kids at all. So we don't. It's not a requirement of them.
With the younger ones, if one has to go to the bathroom, is it usually two people go with the child then?
You know what? We're lucky. The bathroom is like you open our ice door and the bathroom's right there. So we usually just say, go to the bathroom and then come back. And so, and it's actually down a flight of stairs. So nobody's actually there. Like if anyone's upstairs, they're in a lounge and they're literally up 2 flights of stairs. Our club is very unique. You got to go up 2 flights of stairs to go in the lounge, to go down 2 flights of stairs to get onto the curling sheet. So there's a bathroom right there. And so it's, they go to the bathroom, they come back, and the ice door kind of holds open. So if there's an issue, we can sort of hear it, and it's literally right there. So I understand where you're coming from, and there's no question there. You got to be safe, but if there's a kid that's going upstairs, we do send them. Okay, take Julie with you so that you both come back together, and that's how it is. But yeah,
Rule of 2, eh?
Yeah.
Clubs, do you all supply like brooms? You're talking about stabilizers. Do you supply all that for the kids? Like I know this year we're not going to do any of that because of COVID, but is this something your club carries all the time? Is that just brooms?
Yeah. It is. Now, again, we do have enough kids now that end up having their own brooms because they've stuck around long enough, and then it's like it becomes the cool Christmas gift or whatever. And then and to be honest, because we've got people who work in the curling industry, they usually get custom cut down brooms to fit the kid's size. So we have a ton of kids who have the smaller brooms than the average adult broom, and that the 48 brooms that the club have would be more than enough to supply the kids that don't have brooms. And because like myself and a few other curlers were ex-curlers, we usually show up with a dozen brooms if we needed. Now, I'll tell you, last year when we were set to open last year, and we pulled the plug 10 days before it was going to go because the cases just started to get out of control. But one of the rules was that they had to have their own broom last year to participate. They could not use the club brooms. This year, they've allowed us to say, yes, we can use the club rooms, but they all must be sanitized.
Okay.
So we also use the light rocks for the youngers. Again, we like the light rocks, and I'll tell you why. Skill development, age development, use the equipment that fits your kid. If we try to force them out juniors too fast, I think sometimes they miss some stuff because they're trying too hard to get the bigger rocks. So I like the light rocks for the younger kids because it helps them. Our older kids, 11, 12, we're getting them ready. The Bantam's getting them ready to move up. Yes, we certainly use the bigger rocks. So we're assigning them 1 rock or 2 rocks, and those are their rocks, and nobody else will be using those rocks. So when they get in, they'll know what rocks are theirs. The light rocks, we're the only ones who use it in the club, so we're actually putting their names on it. So they can just find their rocks names, and that's their rocks. We're still going to have to sanitize them after each use. But so that's what we're doing this year. We're going to assign them. Those are your rocks. Don't touch anyone else's rocks to help go through there.
Stabilized, like, did you order them from somewhere, or how did you?
Our club had them. Our club has been pushing them long before I got there. I'd like to say it was my thing that pushed them out the door. Unfortunately, it was not my great idea. I just took it and continued with it. So they have, I think we have 8 stabilizers on the ice, open for anyone to use. Yeah, so we just got lucky that they were there already.
Okay, thank you.
Our club just bought, the Kenora Curling Club just bought club brooms. And we got 2 quotes, and we went with the lower of the 2 quotes, had the brooms decals on them with Kenora Curling Club. So hopefully nobody will walk away with them. But, if you have the money for it, it's great. And then our kids use the adult brooms. They're not using shortened brooms or anything like that. They just make do.
Yeah, so the club brooms for us are just adult brooms too.
Yeah.
So they're adult brooms, and it works.
Yeah.
They don't notice. And then I'll be honest, they hit 10, and then they're like, even though this broom probably fits them better, they're too cool. They're like, well, that one's cut down. It's like, it's a little kid broom. And I was like, little kids be dying for this broom. You're right, but just use it. So.
Any other questions or yes? Go ahead. That would be Rob. Go ahead.
Thank you. Your drill database, where are you pulling the drills from? Obviously, you've built these up over a number of years now, so you have a database to go to.
Yeah.
But to develop that, what resources would you suggest going to?
Well, I would suggest going to NOGA first to see what they have. Curling Canada, I believe, has also a program. Now, the Curling Canada program is absolutely wonderful. I've glanced through it. It is for beginners. However, there's nothing to say what we teach beginners is not something we teach us every day. We just expand and go on that. And then I'll be honest. I mean, I started curling when I was 6, so some of it just came from what we've been doing for years and expanding on it. And then again, I pull it out of other sports. You know, I see something that someone does that our kids do at soccer practice. I'm like, oh, I love that. How do I do that in curling? Or, you know, I see a game they play in gym class that they come home with, and I'm like, okay, how do I relate that to curling? Why do you love it so much? What can I do? Like, it sounds silly, but think of the game Simon Says. Okay. And so we call it Coach Says in Rocks and Rings. And sometimes it's like you can get going with the kids for like 5 or 6 minutes before they realize that it's Simon Says, and you're like, oh, time to switch the game. And then and same with like we play this hurry stop game, and like if you've seen the commercials for Rocks and Rings, it's like hurry, whoa. Yeah, it's actually red light, green light. And you would be surprised how many 11 and 12-year-olds you can get to play that for about 10 minutes before they realize it's red light, green light. And then you're like, hey, new game, okay, switch, everybody switch. And so just by changing the name to something they already do. So I actually play, sometimes I'll play hurry whoa with them sweeping on the ice. I'll put them on one hog line and to the other one, and then I'll just be at the other end and I'll yell hurry, and they sweep as hard as they can, whoa, and they all have to stop. It's just kind of like part of the warm up and stuff. So you'd be surprised if you really kind of look at some fun games on the internet, how much you could probably take that and relate it to what you do already, and just mix it up and add it in there.
I've just pulled up the Ontario Curling Council website, and there is a section there on drills. So there's drills to die for is one. And then there is a drills section as well that you can access for free. I'm just pulling it up to see what it's like. There used to be a drills manual. Yeah, there are some drills there, so you can access those for free.
Yeah, most of the parental organizations will have this stuff. They're giving it to you guys. Yeah.
Ontario used to have a medals program too.
A badge system. I think.
Yes, the badge
Do they not still
system.
have it?
I think they do. Is it through Curlant maybe?
I think it's through Curlant. If you go through Curlant website, they might have it on there.
Yeah, I think it costs about, I think it's $10 per badge, but what you get, it's gold, silver, bronze, red, and blue, and you get a folder, and it's a checkoff folder, so the participant sees their progress, and that can be used right up through juniors as well. It's not just meant for the Little Rock program, but it's it might take a new participant all season to earn their red badge or their blue badge or whatever. But
I have seen some clubs do it where they can only earn the one badge, and they just give out badges at the end of the season.
Right.
So that way one kid doesn't go, I earned all the badges in 1 year. It at least gives them a few years to work towards that next level type of thing.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. And I don't think you have to be in Ontario to purchase those if you want. So any other questions? Kim, you're on mute.
I'm on mute.
There you go, Kim.
Yeah, I'm with Royal Kingston Curling Club as well as Dennis Faubert. I have a question about whether you use any other management accounts such as Team Snap for managing your youth program.
At Stroud, we don't. So again, though, I don't handle any of the registrations. I just log into the Stroud. The Stroud Curling Club uses Curling Manager, I believe. And I log into their website. I download my roster. And whenever I need to notify my parents, I'll just blind copy them all on an email saying, hey, here's an update. Just wanted to give you this. And that literally, that's to the extent of our tech skills or what we do. Our program is pretty lenient, and I've designed it that way on purpose in that if you can't come, it's Sunday mornings. I get people have lives. I sometimes want to go, well, pre-COVID, I wanted to go away with my family too. I don't want to commit to every Sunday. Every time my kids go, oh, I want to play this, and it's on Saturdays, I just like, oh, really? I do not want to commit to Saturday sports. I get it. I think that we're pretty lenient. Come when you can. If you don't come, nothing lost. You're not letting down a teammate. We design our program that it's really individual based, and although it's supposed to be fun and you meet people, if someone's not there one week, it doesn't hurt us. So we don't have to take attendance really. It's not that key. I'll be honest, we're taking attendance this year because of COVID, and we want to do tracking. But on a normal year, it's not something that we do. We're not too fancy.
Okay, it seems though that our club wants to have a competitive group of people that they can be in contact with, so that if they have an event that one of them sees that they want to participate in, they'll have access to that, and the coaches.
So our club will still email our entire roster. Like even our 6-year-olds will be invited to join whatever Bondsville or event their things, but I don't control that. So once they register for the club, they become part of the Stroud Curling Club, and any event or program they're technically a member of, and so they'll get invited to it. So, but I don't have anything to do with that. That's up to the Stroud Club to invite them on that.
Okay, thank you.
I just have a question. With respect to the technical aspect of the game, and I know this is not geared toward your younger ones, but I'm thinking more 11 to 12. Do you see any advantage to using video analysis with them? Or have you had any experience with that?
I have done a few video analysis in my day. I've let a few people critique my own delivery into some video analysis in my day. I think it really depends what you're trying to get out of your 11, 12-year-olds, and how advanced skills. I don't know how advanced your 11, 12-year-olds, but I can tell you when I finished high school, there's 11-year-olds right now who would have schooled our high school team, and we were pretty good back then. And now I'm just going, wow, you guys are way above our skill level that we were, a long time ago. And so I think it really depends on, how skilled they are. What I think is key with video analysis is they can actually see what they're doing wrong. You can tell someone they've dropped their left shoulder 9 times out of 10, but if they don't believe you, they don't believe you. You can't. They can't see it. You can't see it. You can tell them they've dumped their hand all the time, but if they didn't see it, so I guess video analysis is really depends on the skill set of your coaches and how technical they are with the ability to kind of break that down. But Andrea might have better knowledge on that.
Well, I just think back to our experience or my experience at Amethyst and Trillium curling camps, and with the younger groups. So that would be the red and blue, who are probably 13 to 14-year-olds. We didn't do a lot of video analysis with them. It was fun for them to see themselves on video, so that's one thing, but they don't really have the body awareness we found yet to make those changes. But that doesn't necessarily apply to every 13 and 14-year-old. It's just like Abby says, if you've got somebody who's sliding really well and you can see that they have that body awareness and could make the changes, then yeah, go for it. But don't make it a huge focus. That's, I guess, the only thing. I just looked on the Curling Canada, so curling.ca, under coaching information, there are drills there. There's a curling drills section, and they have everything set out in the long-term curling development model. So fundamentals, which is ages 6 to 9, learning to train 8 to 12, training to train 12 to 16. And there are drills under each one of those tabs. So there's quite a bit there. Are there any other questions or comments?
Just one more, and this relates to the emergency action plan.
Yes.
if you do have parents that aren't staying, then with respect to liability, I know what we've done in our club before is had parents sign a participant form and just give contact information and relevant medical information and had them seal it in an envelope with their child's name. And we kept them in a binder so that if anything happened, we'd at least have access to that information in case we had to call, or activate the emergency healthcare system. Have you used that in the past, or are you currently using that?
So for our program, I do have every parent's contact information. So I have everything from cell phones to emails to anything like that. Again, this will be the first year that we don't let them stick around. So it will be, again, a learning thing for us. Our program is short enough too that parents don't tend to drift too far away. So if something were to happen and we had to, say, knock on wood, call EMS for whatever reason, I honestly think by the time EMS got here that the parent would probably be back in our call. If they haven't, we have their cell phone numbers, we have their home phone numbers, we have whatever contact information they've given us. We've all got it on the roster to ensure, obviously we want to stay safe and make sure everybody stays safe. So we're doing everything we can to do that.
Thank you.
So Abby, you have all that information, or is it at the desk? Like
So
if something
I have it
happened quickly.
I have it in a binder. So I bring my youth binder in every week I come, and it has a list of all my players. And back in the day they used to take attendance, but again, we used to have 60 plus kids. It used to take us like 20 minutes to attendance. So I just was like, forget attendance, let's go. But this year, because of COVID, they'll be stopped at the door and asked all their COVID screening stuff before they're allowed to come in. And, to be honest, listening to everybody, probably what'll be done is what contact number can we have will be added to that list as something that we collect before the parents leave. And then and then they can leave so that we have that information from the day they drop it off, and it can change each week. Sometimes grandma drops them off. Fine. We'll take grandma's cell phone and this week and do that and make sure we have that when they're dropped off each week.
Contact tracing, basically.
Yeah.
Okay, thank you, Abby.
Okay.
Abby, just a question where it's been a few years since I was involved in Little Rock Star Club, but I've often found that we used to get anywhere from 60, 80 kids in Little Rock, but we had a hard time transitioning them to junior. And I don't know why really exactly what happened there, but I think part of the problem, it was always just that strict birth date issue. And, it was like, I often thought that sometimes kids, you can get 8 kids or you can get none of them. It's because they all hang out together and they aren't always the exact same age. So, if you had 2 or 3 kids that were going to transition out of Little Rocks into the junior curling, unless they were real keen, not all Little Rockers are keen. They're there to have some fun. And like you say, it's really all about the fun. Then we tended to lose those kids. And I often thought, well, we need to be maybe a little more flexible on birth dates, I guess is what I'm thinking. And I don't know if anybody is. It's just, that's what I often thought was maybe a part of our problem.
I couldn't agree with you more. Put the kid. So we have pulled a few kids back that probably should go up to juniors this year, and they're going to stay with our Little Rocks. And I've talked to the parents. I was like, we'd love to have them. I think they'd fit. The kids are more comfortable with us right now. They're in grade 8, so they could easily move up. But I think even for my own daughter got moved up in this one dance class, and I was like, oh, they're all high school kids, and she's only in grade 6, and I'm just like, I'm just not ready for her to emotionally be around high school kids. She's young for her age, and I'd like to keep her as little as possible for as long as possible. And I feel like high school kids have a different attitude. And so I was very nervous for her to move into this class. And I feel the same way with curling, that, to step onto an ice now with kids, 19 years old sometimes, and you're 12, it can be very intimidating. And I don't know enough clubs, and I'm not saying ours is perfect, because it certainly isn't, because we lose the kids too. But I don't know if they're not 100% all in. I feel sometimes we might lose them in that group. So we do not. If you want to stay back now, I've changed it. You can play with us if you want to play with us. Come play with us. Like, we'll make a spot for everybody. We'll find a spot for you to make it work. If that's where your kid's comfortable and they want to play, I'll bring them in. So that's kind of how we've done it. There's no age for us. make it work. And even so, the 2 girls that came, I have convinced 2 other girls who were maybe going back up, and I talked to the parents. I was like, why don't they stick around? I got the perfect team for them for Bonspiels. And so now I got these 4 girls, they're all in grade 7, 8, and I've pumped them all up. I was like, you guys are gonna love each other. It's such a great team. And got them all ready so that they've got 7 teammates, and they're gonna be all the same age, and they don't feel like they're gonna be stuck with a bunch of 6 and 7-year-olds. So I've really developed it to kind of make it work for those kids who were kind of on the border, and try to convince them to stay.
I think it's really important that they bond into groups, because if you can do that, then I think you do have them hooked. You don't necessarily put them in with a bunch of people they don't know. That's really scary. Are your instructors masking?
100%, yes.
Yeah.
In fact, all of our Little Rocks will be masking as well.
Okay.
I have told the parents there to wear masks at all times. I said, listen, I've taught your kids all how to sweep, and none of them will worry about, they'll still be able to breathe based on their sweeping skills. And I'll tell you that, I taught them, so.
Nobody's going to pass out on you.
Nobody's going to pass out based on their sweeping skills. So they're all going to be masked at all times in our club. So I couldn't agree more with you on the bonding, because that's why we're introducing the icebreakers this year. Is we have found that there's a few kids who maybe didn't have the outgoing personality. I have two kids, believe it or not, who are super quiet. They talk to nobody. They don't talk to outside people. And I literally tell people, I swear, they're genetically related to me. And then I have my son who would be like, you want to be my friend? You can be my friend. Like, he would just be friends with anybody. And so I feel like once they've made that bond to somebody at the club, then they're hooked. And so the icebreakers for me allows them to meet all the people and try to get that bond and forced to be challenged with these kids ahead of time. And so that's why, this is new for us, these icebreakers, but I'm excited about it. I have a lot of faith in it. So ask me again in April how, when, I don't know. We'll see.
Awesome.
I just want to make a point that our club this year has recruited ambassadors to our club to show up every so often and show themselves and be like the Glenn Howard or Russ Howard, coming into the club. They may not have the big name yet, but they're out there playing the circuit. And we've tapped into our university resources, and we've recruited a couple of people who are on tour. And I've asked them to show up at our club to be ambassadors, to just rove around whenever they're in town and join our youth league on Sundays. So our kids can meet them and they can, pick up some pointers. Doesn't matter whether they're in the Little Rock program or whether they're up in the competitive venues, just to give them a little bit of inspiration, motivation. Because, sometimes, not all the coaches can be perfectly in tune with all their kids each and every week. So that's what I found, having somebody pop in every once in a while just to spice things up a little bit, new personalities, and the kids are always attracted to people who are in the sport and they want to ask questions, they want to learn more. So we've introduced that ambassador thing this year. It's
a great idea.
I'm really looking forward to it.
And we get some of our juniors to come out and help us.
Yes, we do too.
So, because then if they feel, remember when you a kid and all of a sudden there's like a 16-year-old around, you're like, oh, they're cool and whatever. Although I try to tell my kids, I'm still cool. I swear, I'm still cool. What was the name of that band you liked? I'm going to put on our playlist. I'm cool. Please tell me. So we try. But I like it. And you'd be surprised even how many you can. I met Mark Eidson at an event, wheelchair curler for Canada, long before I knew really a lot about wheelchair curling. And before COVID hit, I was like, Mark, you are I want you to get to our building because I want you to inspire these kids to curl. And so our plan was, as part of our Olympic Day, we were going to have him come in, and then COVID hit and everything changed. So, but our goal is, probably won't happen this year because of COVID, but our goal is to bring in whoever we can. And again, it doesn't have to be someone who's elite and with a Canadian jack or whatever. It can be someone that has just, played on the tour. And sometimes we have a coach, Dale, and he played on the tour a long time. So every now and again, middle of the season, if he's not there, I always tell the kids to go home and Google him. because he won't ever talk about his time as he go home and to Google Dale, guys. He was such an excellent curler, and so it's interesting to see how they come back and react and everything else. But I couldn't agree more. Yeah, fresh faces, and I think that's what I like about our coaching team. We have so many coaches. It's not the same coaches every week. And they mix up with it. And we have grandfathers out there. We have junior curlers out there. We have fun moms out there. We've got dads. We have a wide mix of coaches, which I think really helps create the atmosphere out there. And it's pretty laid back. It's pretty fun, and safety is our number one goal. But we're really, the next is fun.
Well, we're a little bit past 7 o'clock. Are there any final questions or comments or experiences that you'd like to share?
Yeah, I'd like to mention, you were talking about stations and the kids move from sheet to sheet. Is that what you were saying?
That's correct. Yeah.
I found it much easier for the coaches to move. I think once you get the kids moving and they start talking to somebody on another sheet and it takes longer to get them focused again, if you keep them on the same sheet and just move the coaches, it works much faster and much better.
Yes, and you totally can. Sometimes we have specific equipment that they're using, or we have it set up. So like we change our sheet 5 into a half rink, so it becomes 2 sheets.
Yeah.
And so if we're doing a station there, it's designed for probably just delivery or something like that.
Yeah.
So I totally get, if you like, I get it. It's just, I absolutely love the concept. And sometimes that works better for you for sure.
Yeah.
Thanks, Bertha. All right, if there's nothing else, one last call. Well, thank you so much, Abby. This has been
Thanks for inviting me.
Very informative. This is great. The recording will be uploaded to YouTube, and then I'll be sharing it with everybody. Once it's shared with you, please use it for your own use. Don't use it as a a promotional tool or a money maker for yourself. It is for your own personal use, unless you can. And if
I'm
you
just letting you know,
can,
if you make money off my advice, kudos.
But thank you so much, everybody. And the next session is October the 20th. We have Jerry Gertz from the World Curling Tour, who is going to be speaking about analytics and strategic plan development. So I'm sure that will be an interesting session as well. So sign up if you'd like. All right. Mm-hmm. Thank you so much, everybody. I'm going to stop recording.